Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
And welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics. This weekend we're dissecting and talking about, we're doing the postmortem, I guess you would say, on the West Virginia primary. The big shocker of the night, the big race of the night. Lieutenant Governor, he is the president of the state Senate, Senator Mitch Carmichael, losing in the primary. He had two Republican challengers. What's the significance of this, and why did it happen, maybe?
Well, the key thing is the teacher protest movement, and we wondered what would happen. Would the protest at the Capitol have an impact politically? And we saw this when literally the teacher-backed candidate, who herself is a teacher, Mark, defeated the head of the Senate, Mitch Carmichael.
Now, I have it anecdotally, I don't have hard numbers on this, that there was a strategic thing done here, that the labor unions, especially the teachers' unions, urged a good many teachers to disaffiliate from the Democratic Party so they could vote in the Republican primary and knock off Carmichael. It appears that happened. It appears their tactics were effective, and then they'll switch back to the Democratic Party in November. Right.
That's a tactic not just used there in Jackson County, but it's becoming very common, in West Virginia politics. But the key thing, it used to be the coal miners or the labor unions. What's the key now? The teacher unions have they've already been strong, but this is an indication that they will be a powerful political force in the future of West Virginia politics.
Do we think this is just related to the 2 years of two-year straight teacher strikes, or the fact that Mitch Carmichael was one of the driving forces behind making West Virginia a right-to-work state, which has now been upheld by the state Supreme Court? Was this payback?
In half of American politics is payback, isn't it? People have long memories. But in this case, it was a dramatic example, a historic example, when you are able to defeat a very powerful person, as you said, and in their own primary.
What were the other big stories of the night? Anything else that really stood out to you?
Well, we waited for the Supreme Court. We had unprecedented 3 seats up that could have changed the balance, but instead Hutchinson and Armstead, who were appointed, won re-election. So in a sense, it was kind of staying with the same way. There's not a dramatic way. Perhaps the most disturbing thing I find are the negative ads, particularly in the governor. And I think we have to watch that, and maybe the media needs to watch those ads, because when you're poisoning the atmosphere when you're showing only negative ads that are questionable to begin with.
Is it your guess that this will be a very negative gubernatorial race in November?
If the primary is any predictor, then I'm very worried about what's going to happen in the fall.
The big wild card here is obviously COVID-19. If it continues or we have a second wave, it becomes an issue in the campaign. But if it goes away, does that in some ways hurt Jim Justice? Because now people are going to talk about the economy, they're going to talk about the roads, they're going to talk about the bread and butter issues that are always on the table, and now this crisis is gone.
We have to realize that the virus coming was like a meteor striking the earth. It just altered everything, including state politics, and that's why hopefully it will go away and we can go back to more, you and I are more used to traditional campaigning, but you know, who knows?
Yeah, and I know, and I do this in my column every week that I write, that it runs nationally. I apologize for bringing politics into the COVID-19 discussion because people are dying. This is a very tragic event. But look, everything in life has consequences. Everything affects what happens in the world of politics. So you can't not discuss it. It may seem unseemly, but it happened and people had to deal with it, and there is a political fallout because of it.
And notice it affected campaigning, it affected how we vote. It just many factors on what we are used to in terms of politics in West Virginia were altered.
Oh, our candidates couldn't go door to door and knock and shake hands outside the Kroger. So much of retail politics got taken away. Is Zoom campaigning the new thing? Is that always going to be a thing?
That worries me. For 200 years I could shake the hand. Now I can't. Yeah, is it Zoom and TV ads, and we're never going to be able to face the candidate directly unless it's 8:50 feet?
Yeah, we're 8 feet apart, social distancing here. I want to thank Professor Robert Rupp from West Virginia Wesleyan for joining us. You're going to be back here in August. You've written a book about the 1960 West Virginia primary, a very historic primary that really put John Kennedy on the path to the White House, the big debate with him and Hubert Humphrey here. West Virginia was a key race. His book will be out in November. You'll be back then to talk about it.
That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Professor. Good to see you as always. We're going to talk more about Campaign 2020 coming up. Stay with us on Inside West Virginia Politics.